Hello, everybody. This is for Wednesday the 13th. A lot of people start off oblivious to what really is happening in the world. Then maybe they get a taste of something good, and then suddenly they don't want to let go of that good, and they enter into a horrible agreement. Believe me, guys, trading your souls away for temporary trappings, for table scraps, for 15 minutes of fame and fortune, as the saying goes, you're the loser in the end, because this life is but a flash in the pan, as was written by J.R.R. Tolkien. It just comes and goes like this. This whole life is but a blink of an eye, if you will. And that's going to be part of our meditation. You're going to find supporting materials about this here. So last night, I went to see The Devil Wears Prada 2. And just like with the movie Michael, once again, the Lord flooding me with a tremendous amount of intel. I mean, I've been put in a place of employment where, complete disclosure, I am overqualified, no question about it. But were it not for my hobbled state with the leg, because it's like walking on stilts, I wouldn't be working where I'm at now. But by the grace of God, an opportunity opened, and I'm very happy. One of the perks is being able to go to see a movie. And the first movie, many of you out there might not know, which is an instant comedy classic, not unlike Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. But The Devil Wears Prada, the first movie, is based on a true story. A lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that until I started working at the theater, and then I was kind of informed about, yes, the character of Anne Hathaway, the intern that clashed with the head of the publishing empire, fashion empire. That character is a man. And Anna Wintour, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, and forgive me if I didn't off the top of my head, I'm here getting ready to do some aqua therapy. But it ends with him writing the tell-all book, and it created a career-ending path. And the book became a bestseller because it was a tell-all, if you will. And the second movie is a complete departure in that it is all fiction. However, somebody should give an Academy Award to the person who wrote the screenplay, because the screenplay was so good. I mean, they took their time to do it right. The character casting from the original, they're all back, and they are good as far as in their roles. And it's important to remember how roles do not define who the person is. The person might become something horrible, but then the role that they're playing might be iconic. In the second film, they're all back, and it's how their lives have changed over the last 25 plus years. No spoilers whatsoever, but what they're wrestling with in part is, how do I grasp at straws at something, a career in this case, that they're married to that is slipping right before their eyes, versus what is, how best do some people versus others adapt and change with the times? And you're going to have to find that out with the price of admission. But it is incredible to me. For those who are paying attention, you have your spiritual feelers attuned to things around the world, including the movie, where God consistently sends intel through popular forms of entertainment. Guess who makes, I'll give you a second, guess who makes a cameo appearance for about 5 to 10 minutes in the film, in the sequel? Go. Jesus Christ, high command, through the depiction of the Last Supper. They're in Italy when it occurs, and they have a chance to talk about what it is to be there in assembly, what got you there, what keeps you there, and we want to avoid best as possible. Show contrition, beg forgiveness, and get out of the situation that you might have signed on the dotted line with blood with Mephistopheles, as it were, to take a shortcut for prosperity. This is the anti-prosperity gospel, if you will. The real prosperity comes to you free of charge. Where your treasure is, that's where your heart is, and you should hold on to it and preserve it till death do you part, because it's the most valuable thing in the universe. So what you have in the whole story basically is this thing about the changing of the times and how people who have control of your future on Earth, it can be one day you're at the height of heights, just like in Michael, and the next minute you're at the depths of depths. And comes the continuing question that was begun in the Michael movie: what gets preserved? What is it that you take with you? I believe that after certainly having seen the Michael Jackson, that there are things that make us that are part of our talents, our personality, our creativity, cleaned up versions that get to continue on. In some cases, some talents, maybe not really. Like if you were a good bookkeeper, accountant, that doesn't mean that they're going to need that on the new earth. You might be able to conjure up groceries, for example, or it just might grow right in front of you. Ba-bam. Wonderful. I want to talk about the Hollywood industry as it relates to this Devil Wears Prada also, because some people started off on the right foot, super talented like Michael, like Steven Spielberg. We're going to move into his thing, because it still strikes me as odd, and I will probably be covering some of the launch pad of the UFO disclosures, as it were. What a coinkydink, no such thing. That it happens to coincide right at the time that the Steven Spielberg movie is coming out, called Disclosure Day, which, by the way, the trailer looks terrific. And it stars one of the principal actresses from The Devil Wears Prada, to take it a step further. But, he was so gifted. He wrote and directed Close Encounters of the Third Kind and E.T. He wrote those. Guys immeasurably talented, like Michael Jackson. To me, it feels like, at least for now, the movie might be really good, but it feels like Deep State has embedded its claws into Spielberg, and that they coincided releasing this thing about possible otherworldly, fallen angelic outcasts. That is my prevailing theory thus far about any reptilian or different than us looking, different DNA, different genetic materials, life forms on other planets. It's all within God's vernacular to do that. We can't stifle God's creativity. He can do what he wants. But we also don't know, where did these beings, who themselves were created with imperishable materials, they were created to endure forever and ever, the angels. And hence, the punishment must fit the crime, a place of eternal damnation. Well, it could be to be outcasts. They left Earth altogether, only now to be summoned back for the final reckoning. So, if you ask me, that's it in a nutshell, what I think. But then it's just not a coincidence that the movie's rolling out right around the same time. I'm not buying it. The second and third guys is another big head scratcher. So I'm at the movie theater during a shift the other day, and I have to, mum's the word, I have to keep quiet when it comes to letting the public know what I feel sometimes about, well, the cast in this movie have sold their souls. I can't say a word about any of that, right? And I wouldn't. I'm too old for that. I'm just telling you that. They didn't have to tell me that. I know that. But on the fine print, flying under the radar, way under the radar, as if he needed to do it, or as if he got seduced by the dark side, as it were, I'm looking at the poster for the completely sold out satanic current flavor of the month Priestess. They're only there, the whores of Babylon, in entertainment for a very short period of time because the public is fickle. Then they cast them out like Katy Perry and bring in somebody else new, and you see the constant, like this, revolving door over at the Met Gala, which is entirely satanic, and people wearing costumes that look like this. One of them has a person that wears like a paper mache demon, like attacking him over his head, and that's how he gets to peruse around like a stupid idiot for the paparazzi and everybody. For what? So they can have gold leaflet on their filet mignon steak? For what? It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Immortality awaits. Awesomeness awaits, and we already know who wins this. We are currently co-scripting a happy ending, victory in Christ. But we are co-scripting it right now. So get your head and nose to the grindstone and get going. And don't let anything stop you. Now, people who are doing God's work, such as 47, such as to a much lesser extent, but still dangerous work, Nick Shirley, they've gotten a bullseye on their forehead, proverbially and literally and figuratively, with the work that they do. They may not be actual persons of God, but they are chosen people who are doing tasks that put a smile on the faces of heaven's royal court, and that goes a long way. You can add stripes to a spiritual military uniform, even if you're not completely in the fold. Don't stifle God's creativity to choose who he wants to do certain assignments. Now, with all that said, imagine the body of work. I'm looking at the poster of the satanic priestess Billie Eilish, whose concert is in our theater right now. And you have impressionable people going to see the movie who have unformed, not fully formed minds, a target audience. She is of the devil. She made that signature compact, I should say, to jump, to catapult to that height. So it's her concert footage. By the way, one of the people she replaced, Taylor Swift, is on the way out, and Katy Perry, who now is dating the illegitimate son of Fidel Castro, the once used to be PM of that terribly run country, totally woke, progressive, and practically antichrist Canada. Yes, our Canadian neighbors, to the north and to the south with the drug cartels and what have you. All compromised. Nobody's good. All fall short, bear it in mind. But I'm looking at the fine print at the bottom of the poster. Hi, here at the pool where I'm about to swim. And it is on the bottom left corner of the poster. I'll try to provide it for you as part of the materials here. Direct the movie. The movie. For no reason. It makes no sense to me. Directed by James Cameron of Avatar, of Aliens, of Terminator. He's got money coming out the wazoo from his talent. He doesn't need to compromise to make this Satanist's career launch further. Unless she seduced him, maybe romantically, TBD, to be determined. And thankfully it's not up from you or I to ultimately decide what's going on, but we need to steer clear of some of these people. So at the very least, under the radar, I'm like praying, let the spells wear off, let the hypnosis, let the Kool-Aid that people are drinking. By the way, one of the biggest fans of Katy Perry is a relative who shall go unnamed, extremely, extremely close to me, who has Trump derangement syndrome, and nothing that I can say can snap them out of it. I just feel awful inside because it impacts my ability to have fraternization, fellowship with them. So that's one thing where you just left your head scratching. How does somebody with such talent, the likes of Cameron, for crying out loud, and then Spielberg, is nothing sacred? And then moving on to, before moving on to the last example, I can imagine that the true life story of Meryl Streep's character, Anna Wintour, as she's grasping for straws as the industry is completely changing and billionaires are buying these industries like commodities and just chopping block, getting rid of the things that make it special. Couture, the fashion industry, can be awesome, but also it can be used as that poison apple that the Wicked Witch presents to Snow White. What are you willing to hang on, to hold on to your position there? What are you willing to give up? Your soul? And then, ironically, in the character portrayed by Anne Hathaway, she even asks, brilliant screenplay, she asks a question midway through the film. The whole industry, the soul itself of the industry, of the things that are good in that industry, are being sucked out. Nothing of value is being left. And it's an impassioned monologue, and it's terrific. And for the scene of Jesus and many other scenes that feature the main cast, are all on point acting-wise. It's terrific. Terrific. You want a belated Mother's Day gift? There you go. Take your mom to see that movie. Especially if she's seen the first one. I thought it was going to be a little bit of a letdown, but no, it was not. Lucy Liu was not in the original. She's got a nice role in it, in addition to Jesus Christ. Fancy that. Now, the final nail in the coffin for me just makes me sick. The Batman trilogy. Oppenheimer. Odyssey, that's coming out. Homer's epic poem. The Trojan horse and everything else that goes with it. Shades of Jason and the Argonauts. Epic. Battles, good versus evil. The role of Achilles, who in an earlier feature film was played by Brad Pitt. The role of Achilles is played by the actress that she was in one of his films at the time. Now it's an actor. Same sex change completely. I forget her name. But anyway, she's playing Achilles. Bare-chested with her breast completely cut off. And just the nipples exposed, wearing sword and shield. And Nolan is being roasted for that casting decision. Roasted. How is it to be taken seriously, the film? The film is going to tank. It's like, with such emphasis to Ellen Page, but goes by a male name now. Elliot Page, there we go. Elliot Page is Achilles, and they have to force it down your throat. You have to stare at a girl born that way, with her boobs chopped off, that we have to accept people creating their own truths and taking it all the way to the grave. It's just a sinking feeling inside of my gut. Because Chris Nolan, to me, was, with Batman, the trilogy, was immortalized as far as talent and what have you. I feel bad inside. I feel yucky. I've called this before, when you're going to Disney and they have all this programming and selective outrage, and they're trying to condition your children to be mad about some things versus others. The same person that doesn't like, that consumes all the Kool-Aid, the Katy Perry stuff, and listens and accepts and buys into all the lies that are broadcast on the View, which is owned by ABC, which also owns Fox. It's Disney. They own it. So your Republican right, which divested itself from the Fox television programming so that they couldn't mess with the content, although Fox News also has enemy operatives working for them in deep state. Sometimes the stories come out totally anti-Trump as well. You really have to expand your mind and absorb as much as possible. Newsmax, which is right now gaining ground by the millions of viewers and stuff, they are currently promoting, even Trump likes our channel, which is true in part, but then on record on other stories he said Newsmax has done a horrible job on this one. So it just goes highs, lows, highs, lows. On any given day, the scoreboard can change, the players can change. How it all winds up. Remember, gang, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. There may be hope for people, even the likes of Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and such, that are puppets right now. A puppeteer, a puppet master. But we should continue trying to pray off the bad things like that Met Gala person with the demon on top of them off of them. They break off that mold. They break free from that, even if it costs them everything. Because you know what? And it was on the most recent set of posts. So the way this works is that the posts drop down a notch each time that, and this is, we're getting ready to gear up to do this shortly as well, so you might want to visit that website as well. And we thank you for helping the less fortunate, people who don't have shelter, people who don't have an idea what their next bite to eat, where it's going to come from, where they're going to get the money. So thank you. Every penny accounted for, a sacred promise, a solemn vow kept on that. 22nd year doing it. Hands-on ministry, not just a ministry of this. But the Disney has such market share. They went and tried to woke us into accepting. Paramount did the same before it just got sold to the Saudis, who are not going to play that. The good Saudis, not the IRGC. Make a distinction. You can't put all eggs into one basket. The Saudis, the good Arabs, I should say Arabs, not Saudis only, they bought the animated Batman, the Kevin Conroy. They've preserved the Zack Snyder verse. They have the Warner Brothers theme park in Abu Dhabi at the tune of about currently $1.5 billion invested into that, which has the last work that Kevin Conroy, who's the voice of Batman, he is the guy that voices the animated character on the roller coaster ride. Yes, they have a full-fledged roller coaster ride there. They're going back to the Snyderverse. They're going to preserve the good elements of that really clearly delineate good versus evil. Anyway, to make a long story short on that, Paramount tried to, just rolled out before it got sold, and it was struck down by the true fans. If it ain't broke, don't fix. Content creators, the original creators, such as Jim Henson, such as anybody who's created something, Stan Lee of Marvel, they roll in their graves, Walt Disney himself, whenever something's taken, hijacked by the forces of evil, something that was meant for good. They tried to do a cross-dressing Klingon. Please, among other attempts. And then you had in the Star Wars universe, you had clones that were going transsexual, lesbian space witches. What the hell does that have anything to do with the original source material? Nada. I am so happy to report that right now my fingers are crossed. I'm like, please let it not have been taken over by the woke. That regular show has returned on Cartoon Network. They rolled it out again. And you know, not all of them are terrible. The rollout of King of the Hill was A++. You should see that if you can. It was absolutely terrific. And I saw the first 2 episodes of the new rollout of regular show, and so far so good. So fingers crossed. Anyway, that's it for now. It all boils down to, no matter what, all this shitstorm happens back and forth. Pardon-moi. Merde. Excuse the merde. Excuse my French. Pardon my French. I think back to one of my favorite verses, Bible passages, is from 2 Timothy. I know in whom I have believed, and I am persuaded that he is able to keep all of this up, down, changing tide stuff, but things that I am passionately invested into, like nerd and geek friendly stuff, preaching to a nerd and geek choir. Unto him against such a time. That's a paraphrase, but I hold dear to that because I believe that the cleaned up versions of things like that are going to endure. Have yourself a good rest of your day. Pour through materials, and most importantly, copy, paste, share them to others who aren't familiar with this unique manna that falls afresh daily. Because it's like unlike anything that's out there. And who knows, they might get a spark lit up under them that they currently don't have right now. So signing off for now. Take care.